Hi, my name is Jacob Mann, and I decided to do my Fuel Science 431 project on algae as biofuel. The positives of using algae as a biofuel is that it is a fast-growing process. Some strains can double their numbers hourly and be harvested daily. There are high biofuel yields. Energy is stored in the form of oils and carbohydrates. So this can produce 2,000 to 5,000 gallons of biofuels per acre per year. Algae also consumes carbon dioxide while it's growing. So it is a carbon neutral and sometimes even a carbon negative fuel, and this will help to combat climate change. Food versus fuel. Algae is not a food, so it stays away from the food versus fuel debate, allowing us to focus separately on having fuel and also having food for our growing population. Algae production. Open pond raceways, and that is what we have right here. These big ponds that are grown outside. They can also be grown in tubes, like on a deck or a roof, and labs are currently looking for the best form of algae. A lot of cost goes into the growing of the algae, because you have to dig out the area, and there's a lot of landscaping that's involved. At the bottom you can see a diagram that goes into the production of algae, and that has the fats and oils grow inside the algae. The oil is extracted, which we will get to in a moment. The algae oil is converted to biodiesel, and then it is packaged and shipped and able to be put into vehicles that can accept biodiesel. The conversion process. The fuel comes from the oil in the algae. There are a couple different methods to get this oil out of the algae. One is expression, and that is pressing the algae to remove the oil, similarly to olives and olive oil. This removes up to 80% of the oil from the algae. Ultrasonic method. This is faster than expression, and it creates bubbles in a solvent that extracts the oil using ultrasound. There's chemical methods that use solvents like benzene and hexane, but those can be slightly dangerous. Oil that comes from the algae is called green crude, and the transition to biofuel is completed through transesterification that we learned in class earlier this year. Technological advances. Technology has been growing at a massive rate, and this is also coming into algae growth and algae development. The technological advances have helped to reduce the processing times of algae from hours to minutes. Technology is also allowing us to look at the genetics of algae, and this will lead to increasing yields of the harvest and making algae more resistant to bacteria. With increasing yields and less resistant to bacteria, or more resistant to bacteria, that will allow the algae to grow faster and grow better and produce more oil. The fuel is similar to conventional fuel. The biodiesel that comes out of algae is very similar to regular diesel, and it is currently being used mostly in airplanes. Some of the challenges of algae. The cost, it's a high cost fuel, and that's because of the processing and the cost involved with growing it. There's also land space issues. A lot of land space is needed for the open pond growth. And there's only select strains that can be used for algae. There are so many strains, and finding the one that will work best can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. And it becomes a bit of a trial and error when you're first starting an algae growth, finding what strain will work for the area that you are in. And there's also photosynthesis limitations. The sun only shines for a certain amount of the day. The sun isn't up there at night, so your algae can only be growing during the day and not at night. So we have to work around the photosynthesis limitations and try to find a way to keep producing the algae at all hours. Algae as biofuel is definitely an option for the future and the growth of biofuels. Thank you very much.